The message hit my screen like a slap I never saw coming. You are fired. Think of it as my wedding gift. For a second, I thought I was misreading it, that maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something sane if I blinked hard enough. But they didn't. They stayed exactly where they were, cruel and deliberate, burning into my vision while I stood there in a white dress, still holding my bouquet, just minutes after promising forever to the man I loved. The church lobby was full of soft music and laughter drifting in from the reception hall, but it felt like all of it had been muted. My ears rang. My chest tightened. Out of all the days he could have chosen, Tate Lawson had picked this one, my wedding day. The single moment in my life that was supposed to be untouched by stress, untouched by work, untouched by anything but joy. And somehow, he had reached right into it and tried to ruin it. I turned the phone toward my husband, still trying to process what I was seeing. Ethan studied the message, and instead of anger, instead of shock, a quiet smile touched his lips. It wasn't mocking or dismissive. It was calm, almost knowing, like he had just seen the final move in a game I didn't even realize we were playing. He gently took my hands, steadying the tremor I hadn't noticed had started, and pressed a soft kiss against my knuckles. "Check your messages later," he said quietly. "Today belongs to us." I stared at him, confused. I had just lost my job. Not just any job, but the position I had sacrificed everything to earn. I was the lead project manager at one of the most respected architecture firms in the city. I had poured 2 years of relentless work into that role, building systems, managing clients, carrying projects on my back. And now, with one cold sentence, it was gone. But there was something in Ethan's eyes that made me pause. A kind of certainty, a calm that didn't match the chaos inside me. And somehow, against all logic, I trusted it. I silenced my phone, handed it to my maid of honor, and let him guide me through the church doors as rose petals filled the air and applause erupted around us. For the next few hours, I did exactly what he asked. I lived in the moment. I smiled, laughed, danced, and tried to push the message out of my mind. But reality has a way of creeping back in, no matter how hard you try to hold it off. During our first dance, my maid of honor rushed toward me, her face pale and eyes wide with urgency. She leaned in close, her voice low but trembling. "Your phone won't stop ringing. You have over 100 missed calls." That was the moment something shifted inside me. I stepped away from the dance floor and checked the phone. The screen was flooded with notifications, calls from coworkers, messages from team members, and then I saw it. 17 missed calls from one number I knew instantly. Gregory Lawson, the owner of the company, Tate's father. My stomach tightened as the realization hit me. This wasn't just a termination. This was something else entirely. My name is Avery Collins, and until that moment, I had been the backbone of Lawson Architectural Group. I was the kind of person who noticed everything. Details mattered to me in a way most people didn't understand. I could glance at a set of blueprints and immediately spot inconsistencies. I remembered client preferences without needing notes. I built systems not just to function, but to anticipate problems before they even existed. That mindset came from my upbringing. My parents were both educators who believed in discipline and in. When my father fell seriously ill during my freshman year of college, I almost gave up everything to support my family. Instead, I doubled my workload, took on night shifts, and pushed myself harder than I ever had before. I graduated with honors, armed not just with knowledge, but with resilience. When Gregory Lawson hired me, he saw something different in me. He didn't just give me a job, he gave me responsibility. I was tasked with redesigning how the company handled project management. I built a system from the ground up, something that tracked every detail from design changes to permits to budgeting. It streamlined operations and made the company more efficient than ever. Gregory appreciated that. He valued my work. He trusted me. Then his son stepped in. Tate Lawson had the confidence of someone who had never been forced to earn anything. When he was promoted to director, everything changed. Meetings I once led, I was suddenly excluded from. Ideas I developed were presented as his own. Training sessions I organized were canceled without explanation. The environment turned hostile, subtle at first, then unmistakable. It was during that time I met Ethan. He worked at the city permit office, reviewing submissions with a level of care that stood out immediately. Where others rushed, he took his time. Where others overlooked details, he questioned them. We started talking, first about work, then about everything else. He became my refuge from the tension I faced daily. What I didn't know was that he had started noticing irregularities in the documents Tate submitted. 2 months into our relationship, Ethan proposed. We kept the wedding simple, Partly because we didn't need extravagance, and partly because I had a growing sense that my position at the firm wasn't stable. Still, I never imagined it would end the way it did. Back in the bridal suite, I finally listened to Gregory's voicemail. His voice was urgent, strained in a way I had never heard before. He said Tate had no authority to fire me, that something had gone terribly wrong, that the company needed me. Message after message followed, each one more desperate than the last. No one could access the system I had built. Deadlines were approaching. Projects were at risk of collapsing. Clients were threatening to walk away. And as I sat there in my wedding dress, something unexpected settled over me. Control. For 2 years, I had created a system so tailored to my workflow that I could navigate it effortlessly. But without proper training, it was nearly impossible for anyone else to use. And the one person who had prevented that training was the same person who had just fired me. Ethan found me there, staring at my phone. He sat beside me and quietly told me what he had discovered. Tate had been altering approved plans, removing safety measures, cutting corners in ways that could have put lives at risk. That was the moment everything became clear. This wasn't just personal. It was bigger than that. "What should we do?" I asked. Ethan smiled softly. "Nothing. Not today." And so we didn't. We went on our honeymoon. We ignored the calls. We let the chaos unfold without us. By the time we returned, I had made a decision. I wasn't going back. Instead, I built something new. I launched my own consulting firm focused on compliance and verification systems. Within days, the city reached out. They needed exactly what I offered. Someone who understood how these systems worked from the inside and could prevent the kind of manipulation Tate had been attempting. When Gregory finally reached me, his voice was filled with urgency. He offered money, influence, anything I wanted. I declined. About building something that couldn't be taken away by someone else's insecurity. Over the next few months, everything changed. Investigations uncovered the alterations Tate had made. Projects were halted. The company's reputation suffered. Tate faced consequences he had never imagined. Meanwhile, my business grew. Not out of revenge, but out of purpose. A year later, when I walked back into the company, it wasn't as an employee. It was as someone who had redefined her place in the world. And as I stood there, looking at the people who once held power over me, I realized something that changed how I saw everything. The greatest victory isn't tearing something down. It's building something stronger in its place.